started.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So before we go ahead, a little bit about me. My name is Amit Singh, and that's how I do look. And I'm a Salesforce MVP, awarded as twice like Om. And if you talk about in terms of Mulesoft, it is equivalent to Mulesoft Ambassador. And I have got total around 6.7 plus years of experience in Salesforce, and in Mulesoft, it is approx 2 plus years of experience. And I'm leading Faridabad Mule chapter, and there is one group which is related to Salesforce, that is Kanpur Developer Group. And in my free time, I try to post some technical blogs and some videos over my YouTube channel, which is SFDC Panther. You can also say that's my online nickname. And I also try to post some courses over Udemy related to Salesforce. And if you want to connect me over personal or professional channels, you can just follow me over Twitter, which is Claudia Amit, or LinkedIn is simply Amit and SFDC underscore Panther. So without taking a delay, first let's quickly talk about the disclaimer, because most of the time we don't talk about it. So basically, we means I or the other speaker Siddhant or any organizer. We are not promoting any product here. We are not trying to make any sale pitch over here. And if we are making any mistakes, any statement by mistake, please ignore those. And the last point is we are not experts. So the sole purpose of the session is to learn together. And with this, we'll start with what Mulesoft is. Mulesoft is a Salesforce company. It has been recently acquired by Salesforce. It's an integration platform where we can integrate, I think, almost every other platform, including ERPs, databases, and some cloud platform like AWS as well. And we can also manage the complete life cycle of APIs, like from designing to the implementation as well. And with that, let's quickly talk about what an API is. So basically, API stands for Application Programming Interface, which we can also say it's an acronym for API. And we mainly use API to exchange the data from one system to another system. It can be like there are minimum two systems which are required, but there can be more than one system, uh, by which we are basically using APIs to communicate between systems. So if we talk about a very simple example, we have got a client. Client is going to send a request to the server, and then server is going to send a response to the client. Server is definitely going to send a response, no matter if that response is including a success response or that response is returning an error response, but it is going to return you the response. So most of the times, when I ask a question to the people like, what if I'm trying to send a response to a server and the credentials are not valid, so they say that there will be an error. But actually it should be like the server is going to return the response with the unauthorized access or any sort of error which that API has coded. So there is nothing like if the credentials are valid, not every time it is going to return 401 authorized code. The reason is that API is what a developer code. It doesn't follow. Definitely the developers follow the standards and they try to use the standard codes which are provided by HTTP. But it doesn't mean if you are sending some unauthorized credentials, it is always going to send the mm, 401 error. So basically API is coded by a developer and developer can code anything, and that's why what I say is API is what you code and it is going to return the information what you have coded for. Now let's quickly talk about a very basic example, which is a restaurant example that we have taken here. So uh, I hope that everyone has, before this lockdown or even in this lockdown, most of the people go to the restaurant or to the hotels for a dinner, family dinner, or some sort of parties. What we do is we kind of making a request to the hotel management, and we say that these are all the items that we would like to have, and then the request is being processed at behind. We say that where chips are working on the items that we are going to have, and then once those request is processed, we are going to get that response over here. So basically response from the server, basically what there are people who are ready to serve us. So this is just a very basic example, which is a real life example, and that is how you might have system one and then you might have system two. and you are sending some request and you are receiving some response. That's what we have seen, and we are also going to see as a live demo. And then there is another concept which is saying that web services, most of the pupils are confused between API and web service, but it is a kind of like API and web service both are used to transfer, or we say that establish a communication between the two systems, two or more systems over a particular network. When we say that network, I have especially specified network over here in the definition of web service. That is just a flaw. I'll say that it's kind of making you think that both are different, but these are not different things. Basically, you have got two systems. Most of the times we use web services for communicating server to server, not in the API we have got machine to machine or we have got machine to server, but most of the time we uses web services like SOAP. We use to communicate one system to another system, like we are trying to communicate Salesforce to Salesforce, or we are trying to communicate Mulesoft with Salesforce, or Salesforce to Amazon AWS, or we say that AWS to Salesforce. So whenever the both the parties are involving, or we say that identified as a server, then we are using web services, and most of the time our work is done with the help of APIs as well. Now let's talk about APIs versus web services. So as we say that these are not mutually exclusive. So when we say that mutually exclusive, that means these are not actually the separate things. Both are used for the same purpose, or we say that both are used to serve a particular purpose, which is just to transfer a data from one system to another system. And the second point is very important, where we say that every web service is an API, but every API is not a web service. Why we say that? Because APIs, or we say that APIs are the new version of the web services. We say that these are revolutions of the API web services. That's why every web service count as an API. So before we go ahead for a demo walkthrough or a website, is there anyone or any questions that we see, Walid? I'd like to take them.
Now, I think
Okay.
that you can take it after the topic, please.
Yep. So basically, as I said, right, API is whatever you code. Even if you are trying to visiting a particular web, okay, if you're trying to visit a particular web, this is also a website. This is a URL which you are trying to hit. So when you are trying to hit this particular URL, without any authorization and anything. The first thing is that whenever you are trying to hit a URL, it from a browser, it is always going to make a GET request. And what information it is going to get you is this complete web, where you have got a lot of informations or a lot of news. And if you say, like, we are going to sports, you see here there is we say that it's a another path which is saying that okay, now I want to see the information related to sports only. And if you kind of search something over here, let's say that I'm going to search for cricket. So if I search for cricket over here, you can see now we are able to see a query parameter over here which is saying that q equal to cricket. If I try to make is something like this, let's say that I'm going to make it as x equal to cricket, what you will see is nothing. The reason is that developer has only coded for the URL, and they are only going to show you the search result if the query parameter is a q. Then only you will see this cricket, or you can see anything. Suppose that if you're going to the google.com, okay, if you are here in the google.com, you're searching for anything. Suppose that I'm searching for Salesforce, okay. If I search for Salesforce, you see here what we've got is there is a parameter, there is a path called search, and then we are sending a query parameter. Suppose that if I try to say that find instead of search, what we are getting is URL was not found over the server. And that is the reason. That's why I say API is what you code. So if you haven't coded for that, you're not going to get anything. Even if you no matter if that makes sense for you, like either we search or we find a particular keyword, that is definitely going to make sense for us. And whatever the query parameter you sent, these are basically whatever the parameter you send after a question mark, these are known as query parameter, and you can send multiple, like you can say that Salesforce, and I can say that and Mulesoft. I'm getting Salesforce, and these are always URL encoded. When we say that URL encoded, that means all the spaces are going to be replaced with a plus, and all other special characters are going to be replaced with the particular uh, URL formats. There might be multiple parameters that you wanted to send, and that you can send with a separation of an ampersand, which is also known as and. So if you see, we are saying that q, and this is our parameter, and then we say that okay, we wanted to send some other parameter which is xsrf, and we are saying differentiating, or we say that we are separating with and. So that is basically how your API is going to work. And whenever you are trying to put anything, you're trying to search anything over Google, that is an API. So you don't need to be confused like it is a website or it is just sending whatever they have coded for us. Yes, they did code it, but we are able to see what they did coded. We cannot search for anything else as per our own convenience. So I hope this is clear. If anyone have still questions, please.
have few questions from the participants.
Yeah.
First one is from Praveen Kumar. So he's asking, could you please elaborate with one more with more on APIs versus web services?
Yep, sure. So basically, when we say that a web service and APIs, right? So basically, APIs we mainly use for communicating one machine to another machine. Suppose that, let me quickly take you an example over here. Suppose that you have a system called Salesforce, okay, and you wanted to kind of get one service, or we said that you wanted to have get a SMS service of your Amazon. Okay, so if you have only one service which is going to integrate with Salesforce, you can kind of use some APIs which are provided by uh, Amazon. Okay, and when we talk about, we have got a system Salesforce, and then we have got another system which is also a Salesforce. There are two Salesforce orgs. This time, whatever the data you've got in Salesforce 1, you wanted to send the same data to Salesforce 2. You can also use APIs over here, because at the end goal is basically to transfer the data from one system to another system. But what you are going to use here is a web service, because now the system has been involved, like both the side are servers, and with the help of web services you can have more sort of flexibilities to basically send the data from one system to another system. And there are few web services which are not known as APIs. I completely forgot those, but I'm definitely going to put those to into the slides, and the slide will be shared by the organizers over the meetup link. But yeah, basically the sole purpose for both web service and API is to transfer the data. And the key thing that you need to remember is, if there are two server, basically we say that if both the parties are server like Salesforce, both the side is Salesforce, or we have got both, one is Salesforce and one is some sort of ERP, it can be a SAP or Oracle, then basically we use a web services to migrate the data. So I hope
Uh,
this.
yeah, he's clear with that. Now the another question we have got is he wants to Aniket, like
Any another example of the web service.
So I think we covered this
What is
right
your
now.
voice was breaking in between.
So Aniket is asking about
About he wants to know one additional example of web services.
I'm sorry, like right now I don't remember. That's what I said, that there are few sorry, there are few web services which I completely forgot, which are not there on top of my mind.
I think I think a web service, like basically you can use if there is an endpoint in Mulesoft, that is Maximo. So basically Maximo is also a kind of a SOAP web service, which you can hit it using XML data, which is a kind of a SOAP accepted data format. and I think that is a example you can think of. You can look for it on Google as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you can find it, that's well and good. But if not, we'll definitely answer you. You can also connect me over LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can talk about more on this.
Yeah, Aniket, do confirm you are good with that. Yep, yeah. Okay, Amit, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks. So let's quickly talk about Mule message structure, which is very important whenever we are developing any sort of APIs over here in the Mule, or we are working with any project. So I'm not going to talk about this Mule 3 part, but it is just for a comparison purpose. But we are working on Mule 4, so I'll just talk about Mule 4 only here. So in a Mule 4, basically we have got Mule message. Okay, message is containing two part. One is event, and then we have got the variables. So first we'll talk about these variables. Variables are the variables like you create in any of the programming language. Like if you are working with PHP, you've got the variables, you've got JavaScript, you've got Java, or you've got Salesforce. So for every programming language, you can prepare the variables like decimal, integer, or string format. In Mulesoft as well, you can also create the variables, and these variables are part of our Mule message. And then we have got few more things, like there are Mule event, which is very important. So it has got payload and it has got attributes. So when we talk about payload, basically it is the exact data that you are going to transfer, whatever the data you are sending or you are receiving from any other system. And attributes are basically the properties. So suppose that you are sending an HTTP request. So you will be having some listener path, you will be having some headers, you will be having some sort of query parameters, you will be having some attributes, or you will be having some URL parameters. So whatever you are having, those you will be getting under attributes access. So payload is your data, your actual information you are transforming. You can have, you can do some sort of transformation over here, and attributes are the information about your URL parameters, your query parameters, or your HTTP listener attributes. And variables are your own, which you can create as a developer. These are not the, we'll say that these are not by default comes as a part of Mule message. But yeah, if you are working, there are some scenarios when you are going to use the variables, and you are going to use these variables in your Mule project. So when we say that, I think Mule event is basically nothing Mule message plus variables. I think in starting I said it other way. So Mule event is who is going to contain Mule message and variable. And yeah, before we go ahead, because I think after that I've got the demos. And before we go ahead, anything comes in anyone's mind whom you are going to ask or anything, please feel free to go ahead. And then we'll talk about the demos, 2 3 demos, how to basically connect with Salesforce and how to actually make the callouts to Salesforce and get or create the data.
Guys, do confirm we can go ahead over the chat.
And one thing is, like I'll say is, guys, please try to participate here, because if you have any questions, don't keep inside you.
Yes.
And no question is a silly question. Even if you're learning new things, you will definitely have a lot of questions in your mind. I think I can take this silence as a no.
Yeah, everyone is saying to go ahead.
Okay, so to develop the Mule projects, basically we have got two sort of things. One is an Anypoint platform, and one is Anypoint Studio. And this is how your Anypoint Studio is going to look like. On the left hand side, Package Explorer is going to contain all the projects that you are creating for your clients or for your practice purpose. This is the middle one is going to be the canvas, where you can have the complete flow, related to your project. This is the console where you will either see an error or a success message. And these are the Mule palette, basically, where we'll get the multiple connectors to connect with Salesforce. So in MuleSoft, the benefit is like you will have inbuilt connectors. You don't need to code anything. You will just have to find out the right connector, and you just need to drag and drop, provide the required information. Like sometimes the system we wanted to access is password protected, needs authentication, so we have to provide those sort of information, and then it is Mule is going to write a code for you behind the scene. And Anypoint Studio is developed on top of Java. So basically they are using Java beans, and they are using some sort of I believe Java EZB beans sort of things, XMLs, sorry, Spring and all those things to develop this application. So to use this Anypoint Studio, there are few sort of requisites if you are downloading into your system. Like the very first thing is that it requires a minimum of 8 GB RAM, but they recommend to use to have a 16 GB of RAM in your system because it's a heavyweight software. And the size of this software is also approx 2 GB, 2 GB. And there is one a web-based platform which is known as Anypoint platform, where you can monitor all your activities. So before we go ahead, let's quickly see how we can download this Anypoint Studio, because this studio is free. You can use and you can have all your projects over here. And when we talk about Anypoint platform, that is basically a paid version, but you can definitely have a trial of 30 days, and you can have as many as trial you want. So to download this, what you need to do is you just need to search for Anypoint Studio, and you say that download. The very first link that you will get is what you need to go here. It does says it is a 30 days free trial, but you don't need to worry about that. Basically it's not like that. You just need to select what your uh, s- operating system is, either Windows, Mac or Linux. Based on that, like I'm using a Mac, you just need to click on agree, and it is going to start download if you click over here. Sometimes it might ask some sort of information to fill, like your information, first name, last name or email. I have already downloaded, so I'm not going to download this. And it is not like you don't need to install. Basically it's a plug and play software. You just need to download, extract, and you will see the Anypoint Studio file. And you just need to double click on that to run your studio. And the other part is, which is anypoint.mulesoft.com. So this is the place where you need to basically create your system. So if you see here, right, I have got one. It's not the number of the orgs that I have got. It's my username and password. But if you want to sign up, you just need to click on sign up, provide the details over here, and then click on accept and create account. You will be able to see that. So let me quickly do it. So once you click on accept and create account, it is basically going to log you here. You see here it is saying that this is access to it. Okay, I'll say grant access to this. I'm not sure if this is a new thing. Okay, basically I was there in the exchange. I was at a wrong place. So if you'll sign up, by default you will see the home page like this. So data graph is something which is new. Mulesoft has introduced recently, and these are the management center, where you will get all these 6 options, like access management, where you can access your users, business groups, audit logs, and many more. API manager is something where you are going to manage the complete life cycle of your APIs. And then you have got runtime manager. Here you can get your API, you can deploy this to the cloud hub, you can have get the endpoint to your APIs and then send it. I believe this is all about the runtime manager. Visualizer is something where you will get I'll say that in a visualized format about all about your applications, your APIs, the locations where they are being used, and all sort of things. Then you have got monitoring, and secret manager is basically for SSL. If most of the time we need this kind of have a SSL, or we say that secure communication between the two system. When we say that two system, our API and the other system which are having our. So we'll not talk about this Anypoint platform today. We'll only work with Anypoint Studio. Once you have downloaded Anypoint Studio, what you will see is basically you will be having a URL like this. So if I show you here, I have got the icon which is saying Endpoint Studio. And when I double click on that, this is what my Anypoint Studio is. If you are very new and you have downloaded for the first time, you will see a very simple project over here. You might see some sort of welcome screen. So you just need to click, there will be a pop-up. You just need to click on continue to studio. And to create a very first project, what we'll do is we'll just click on right click over package explorer, new and mule project. If you don't want here, you can see there is a plus icon on the top. You say here drop down, click on mule project. And once you do that, it is going to ask you the name. So let's say that I'm saying Patna Mule Meetup. And you just need to do anything, go ahead and click on finish. So once you do that, this is your canvas, and this is how the very first project is going to look like. Now what we need to do is, as we have seen, right, as a part of API demo, we have seen every time whenever we are trying to hit a URL, then only we get the response. So the very first thing is that we need to do is we need to have a listener, a particular URL where we can listen. So to listen that, what we will have, we have got a listener over here. We'll just drag and drop from this here. You will see under favorites section, listener is something you need to drag and drop over here. So you have got this. Now if you see, it's not happy, it is showing some sort of red sign over here. So if you want, first thing, if you click over here, if you want to change the name, you can change that. So let's say that I'm saying hello world, or let's say that hello mules. This is going to change here. If you click on this listener, you will be able to see all the properties over here. Suppose that if you wanted to say get hello. So what I used to do is I always say that what is the operation I'm going to perform, either get, post, put, or delete. Then what is the endpoint I'm going to use, so that I can easily say that this listener is basically going to call an endpoint saying hello. As this is saying hello, in the path itself, I will say hello. And then for the connector configuration, you still see that it's not happy, right? So if you need to go, we need to provide a connector configuration. So just go ahead and click on plus icon. By default, it is 8081. If you want to have some base path like version 1, you can have that as well. And then if you click here on the test connection button, it is going to tell you either the connection is successfully established with your local host or not. If it is going to basically show you the success or error message. So if any other system is using this localhost 8081 port, then you will see the error. Otherwise you will see a success message. So I'll just go ahead and click on test connection, and if everything goes okay, you will be able to see the successful message over here. If not, you'll get the error. So you can see here it is saying that test connection successful. You can click on OK. You just click on OK again, and if you click on canvas now, you see that it's happy now. There is no error. Now we say that okay, this is the listener. Now what if anyone is hitting this particular URL, like we hit that BBC site? So if that anyone is hitting that URL, what response that person will get if everything is okay? So for that, what you can do is transform message. This is the key thing, we'll say that. And most of the time in every project you will be using this transform message. Transform message is basically used to convert one system to another system. And why this plays an important role here is, So suppose that Salesforce is another system, AWS is one system. Salesforce is sending some sort of Java JSON format, but AWS is accepting XML format. Both systems have their own communication language. So how we are going to transform their communication language so that they can easily understand what is there, what information is being transferred by Salesforce to AWS. So this transform message is going to play a key role over here. Whatever the input you are getting, you can convert it to multiple other sources. Like by default, it is Java. If you wanted to convert JSON, or if you wanted to convert some sort of XML, you can have XML as well. I believe you have got CSVs as well. You have got data view. So these sort of outcome you can quickly convert. So if you wanted to have JSON, you just say that JSON and what information you wanted to have. Suppose that I wanted to send a message over here and we'll say that welcome Max Mule. This is the information we wanted to return whenever a user is sending this keyword which is saying that hello. If you wanted to see the outcome, you just click on this preview button. It is going to show you what kind of transformation or what kind of conversion happened and what is going to be the outcome. So you will quickly able to see that outcome over here. If you wanted to make it to the XML format, you can just make it XML and you will see this is the format of outcome. If you wanted to send it to the Java, you can say Java over here and you will see now it is in the form of object, because this is nothing, this is a JSON object. If you wanted to have data view, you can say DW, and I'm not sure if quite sure if it is going to work for CSV. Yeah, it is working. So basically these are kind of information. This is basically the role of our transform masses, and that is very powerful connector among all the connectors which are available for a Mule. Now this is the very first, or we'll say that this is very simple API that we have developed using Mule. Before we go ahead and test it, if you click the connector over here, you will see, go to the advanced tab. You can see here allow methods. So if you wanted to have this particular URL just for having, let's say that I've got only get. So this particular URL is only for a get method. If I try to make a post call, I'll get the error. I will show you that as well. If you go to the metadata, metadata is something which where you can define what sort of information a user is going to send if they are making any get or post or any sort of request that they are trying to have. So why this metadata is playing important role here? So suppose that you have developed an API where you are accepting a list of JSON. We'll say that list of JSON objects, or if we talk about in Salesforce terms, we are receiving list of account records. Now we must be knowing that what sort of information they are sending so that we can use a transform message and we can transform that information to Salesforce according to us. We will be seeing this as well in the demo. If you go to the responses tab, you can see here it is saying that we have got this, these are the success response and these are the error response. So if our API returns success, what sort of response we'll see? We are saying that it is going to return payload. If you have some header, you can also add the headers. If you wanted to change the status code, by default the status code of a success is either 200 or 201. But if you want to change it, let's say that I'm going to change it 401. So for success itself, it is going to have the 401. Or you can also have some sort of mule variables that you can use over here. And you can also put the reason phrase, I'll say that success response. And you will see the difference as well. So before we basically put these, we'll see what is going to, what we are getting as a default value, then we'll make the modifications, and then we'll see what we are getting as a modified value. So now we have done here, we need to run this, we need to test this into our local machine before we actually deploy it to Cloud Hub. So to run it, we again have a couple of options. One is right click, click on run project, or you can see there is a green play icon, just click on that and it is going to run your application. So it will take some time because we are running the application for the first time, but it is going to do everything on behalf of you. So it is going to build a file, it is going to launch the JVM, it is going to run every, like it is going to have all the dependencies made for us so that we don't get any error and we can easily test our application. In the meantime, it is running on the left hand side of your project panel. If you see here, we have got the dependencies, some jar files, right? This is the Mule server runtime. We are using ZDK8, which is embedded inside our Mule SDK. We don't need to download it from any other resources. Then this is the socket, is nothing basically. This is the connector which we sorry, this HTTP one is nothing. This is the listener, the libraries for this particular HTTP listener. Then you have got src main Mule. Here you will be seeing all your XML files. You've got main resources. If you wanted to have some sort of Java files, you can also have those. For the testing purpose, you can put all your resources under this folder, which is src test resources. And when you are writing the unit test cases, you can have all those unit test cases under this folder, which is src test munit. Now, if you see over here, we have seen that this is deployed, our application is deployed, and we can easily test it. But if you see on top of here, you say that our application has started. I think this is the different application which is saying it is a Patna meetup, but we are in uh, basically different application. We'll just go ahead and stop this, and I'll run this application which is Patna Mule meetup, because I have got this different application. And if you see on the run button, it was already saying. So if you click here, right click, you will be able to see all your projects and you can run those, any of the project that you wanted to have. So in the meantime, it is running. What did you get any questions over the chat window? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Amit, I can hear. Yeah, you are there.
Okay, so I was saying, okay.
Amit, we have a bit time shortage, so yeah, we have to just wind up a bit earlier.
No problem. There is nothing much left. Okay. So this is deployed. We can just go ahead and quickly test it. So to test this, I'm basically using Postman. You can use anything. So the URL is going to be HTTPS localhost colon your port number. You have given the base, which is version 1, and then we say that hello. And if you hit enter post, because this is a post method, you see it is saying that method not allowed because we have used get as a method. And if you go to the get and we send it, we see that welcome Maximule. This is what we must send a message. We got reason like status as 200 and okay. If you go ahead and quickly to this basically the properties and go to the responses, this time I will quickly go ahead and change it to 401 and I'll say success response. And as soon as I click Control S, it is going to again do the hot deploy for us, and it will not take much time this time, and we'll be able to test this application within a very short period of time. So we've got this, our application is started. We can get back to our sorry, you can see here now this time status code is 401, but the region phrase we are getting success response, whatever we have basically given, and we are getting that response. So that is what your responses section of your Mule message sorry of your listener said. So this is just to show you like a very basic how you can create your a simple API. Now I'll stop this and I will close this application in order to show how you can connect with your with Salesforce using Mulesoft. So what we are going to see here is we are going to have two demos. One is for creating the accounts and one is for querying those accounts that we have created. So you can see here, first thing what you need to do is you just need to go ahead and search for Salesforce on the Mule panel. And what you wanted to do, you will see a lot information over here, like whatever the operations that you can have, but we wanted to create. So we'll just drag and drop a create over here. So if you see, this is again not happy. There is a connection by default for me, but what you need to do is just go ahead and click on add. And once you click on add, it is going to give you the multiple options. Either you are going to use basic authentication 2.0, JWT, username and password. So I have used basic authentication. You can provide your username and password. Click on test connection and it is going to show you either success or an error message. So I already have this connection. I will just show you here. I have provided my username and then I have provided my password as well. If I go ahead and click on test connection, I will be able to see that the message called test connection successful, like we have seen for our HTTP listener. I will cancel it. I will not wait for that. And as we've got this create, so you can see here is type. Type is nothing, is the object which we wanted to create. So you can select what object you have, or you can just search for that object. So if you search here, I've got account. And it is going to say that what sort of input, like what record you wanted to create. We will say by default, we'll say that we are going to create whatever we are getting as an input from the user. And we'll just go ahead and see, and we are able to see that success message. One thing that you will see here, if you go to the create, on the right hand side, you will see the inputs for this particular create record. You see that this is going to accept an array of objects. And if you talk about the output, it is going to give you the output like this. And this is basically will be in any format that you want it to have, either JSON or XML. And so I'll just go ahead and delete this. What we have done is we have got a listener which is going to have post / account. This is going to post an account. In the advanced section, I said I'm going to post, I'm not going to get here. And in the metadata section, I have defined metadata, right? So how you will define a metadata over here? Before we go ahead, I have a very simple JSON file with two accounts. One is having account number, description of the account, and name. What you need to do is just find your JSON file. You might have some other example JSON file. You don't need to have the complete record over here, but I have got two records with an array. Just go to the SRC test resources, right click, and we need to create a file over here. So we'll just go ahead and new and click on file. So you can have over here. So there's an account list.json, and you just need to paste whatever you have over here. So if you wanted to have more, you can have more. Even if you wanted to have one, you can also have one. But make sure that it is in the form of array, because our input is accepting an array of records. And next thing that you need to do is go to the listener metadata, click on add metadata, and it will ask, okay, I think let me delete it both first. You will see this initially, click on add metadata. What you wanted to add, we'll say that we wanted to add whatever is going to be the output. Click on this pencil icon and you will be able to see, you can say that account records, create a type. So once you will create a type, it is going to show you what sort of type it is, either an string or you can have multiple types. You see here, we have got the JSON, we've got the example, and we'll select our example from the folder, which is SRC test resources and account list JSON. So if you open it, you will see your all the properties of your JSON. Click on select. You will be able to see that over here. As we are getting the list of JSON, we want it to map to Salesforce. We will have a transform message over here. So just click on this transform message. And this is already mapped. I'll just go ahead and remove this. Okay. So by default, you will see nothing over here. And let me have like this. Okay. So by default, you will see like this. this input is coming from this particular parameter, this payload input is coming from this listener, and transform message is going to map our information from input to output. So name, we are going to map with the name. So I'll just go ahead and map name with the name. Then we have got description. We can also search for the field. So we'll say that description is going to map with description, and account number is going to map with account number. So as soon as you will map, it is going to write a data view code for you. So you don't need to worry about that. If you wanted to have some sort of preview, you can just click on the preview button to see. It is saying that create required sample data to execute overview. As we already have, we are able to see that this is how your information is going to look like in the Java format. If you have some JSON, you will see in the JSON format. I'll keep that as a Java. Now, once we have mapped this, we call the API to call Salesforce, create Salesforce records. Then we have got the message. Why we are having this transform message? So that whatever the information we are getting from Salesforce, we can quickly return that to our end user, and they will be able to see either it is a success or an error message. So we'll just go ahead and run this project, and then we will see if it is working fine, we are able to create or not. For the demo purpose, this is a post request. We need to send the data. I will have this JSON file. I'll change the name of these accounts because these are already there in the system, and then we'll see the demo. Time being, what we'll do is, this is the endpoint for my request. Method is going to be post. In the body, we are going to send this information, and we'll say that instead of co, I'll say that inco dot. So these are the few like 2 records that I'm sending. I'll have one more, and this time I will name this as Mulesoft. We have got 3 records. We'll just wait for our application to run, to execute, and then we'll just quickly go ahead and test it. So as you can see, our application is deployed, and we'll just go ahead and send it. So as soon as we send over here, it is going to send a request to Salesforce. We see that message is 201, and we have got items. Under items, we've got 1, 2, 3, and all 3 items are success. There is no exception. There is no errors. You see here, we're getting the IDs for our Salesforce records, and these are the 4 records that we have got, and that is how you basically create the records into the system. Now, if you wanted to get the information, like you wanted to make a SQL query, so you again need to search for Salesforce, and this time what you will see is you need to search for query. So you've just got query here, and what object we need to query? We need to query basically account. So we'll just for here, so we'll say that select ID name. I've got account number, and then we've got description. From which object we wanted to have? We wanted to have from account. I'm going to put a limit of 20 records, and in the query I'll say that query accounts. I'm going to query an accounts. We just need to provide a listener. So what we have is, you have to clear this, go to the favorites section, drag and drop the listener over here, and this time I will say SFDC accounts. This is going to have get. It's going to give me the list of all the accounts records up to 20 because we have a limit, and we are going to return a JSON format. What we will return, whatever the records we are getting. What records we'll get the array of objects with these fields containing as an outcome. So this is a very simple flow which we have just put over here. We have just saved. I did perform Control S, and this is again building. The project will again run, and once it is done, I will be able to see So our application is executed. We'll just go ahead, and before that, I'll say sfdc underscore, sorry, sfdc and / accounts method is going to get. We're not going to send any body, so body will be none, and we'll send it. So we have got these records. You can see here we have got how many records are there. If you go to the we don't have option for table, but yeah, you see here we've got one account which is PepsiCo. Then we've got some other account. So these are the accounts that we have in the system. Some of them we created by Salesforce by executing this particular uh, API from Mulesoft, and some of them were already there in the system. So as we have put a limit of 20, we will get only the 20 records. And if you have more than that, you can also have some sort of increase the limits, and you can perform all those things. So yep, I think this is it from my side. And if anyone have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me.
Siddhant, do you want to go ahead with that question you had, basically?
I guess
Sorry,
Mohit was.
sorry, Mohit. I think you replied back, and I think he is good with that, right, Mohit?
Maybe Amit can provide a different answer.
Yep, I think I can take it. Can you please? Okay. How to get auth token from Salesforce to run a ShoQL. So Mohit, I think I have already shown you how you are going to use auth token. So basically you are having authentication, which Siddhant has already said. If you are having a basic, even if you are using any sort of authentication, either basic or JWT, SAML, or username and password, you have to provide the authentication, and Microsoft is going to take care everything for you. And then but it will be dynamic. Yes, it will always be dynamic. Whatever the username and password you have provided, it will be dynamic. Then nowadays I think Salesforce free account is not allowed to work with its web services. Is this right? No, that's not right. Salesforce free account is allowing you to do most of the things. There are few products which are paid. But if you are trying to test it, like for all the operations you can have, including batch, apex, delete, upsert, update, composite operations, you can try everything. Even I'm using a free account. It's not a paid account that I have shown you. Then we've got how were you able to create input metadata using output? I couldn't understand. So basically, Aniket, this is quite confusing for everyone. Whenever you are creating an output metadata for your, okay, let me show you. So if you are creating an output metadata for this particular listener, it is going to be the input for your transform message. And whatever the transform message output is going to be the input for your accounts, the next connector. And whatever the input is there for this particular connector is going to be the outcome for the transfer message. So basically the output of the previous connector is going to be the input of the first connector. That is what we have created the output for our HTTP listener, and we were able to get that as an input for our transfer message. And I think that is the same answer for you. We must need to know as an API server, or we say that as an API developer, we will define what are the inputs that you can send as a developer, and what will be the format of an input for a particular uh, API incoming information. So that's why we are basically defining an in a structure, basically, so that we can process that structure as per our API. And I think Siddhant has already answered. Can I get the mic? Okay, Mohit, are you still wanted to speak? We can definitely make you host. But how input metadata got populated? Only output metadata from Salesforce shouldn't have populated. I didn't get your answer, Aniket. Aniket, Void, can we make him host so that he can speak?
Populated on left. Okay. Aniket. Okay. Right. Yeah. Is in.
Yep. I think if you could speak and elaborate your question, I can definitely help you. So there is one, I think, from Kavi. So what is the use of adding metadata? It is very important aspect of any API, right? So if you have seen any documentation, not only the Mulesoft or any API like Salesforce, Google, LinkedIn, or some sort of other APIs like AWS, they are saying that this is what information or this is how you are going to send the input. If you are not sending the input in that format, you are going to get the error saying that the particular information is missing or input is not valid. So we, whenever we are developing our API, we tell the developer that this is going to be the response request format, and you have to tell the, you have to send the same sort of response, sorry, request. If you are not sending, your request is going to fail and your integration will not work properly. So every time as a developer, as an API developer, you will definitely tell these are our, this is the endpoint, this is the response, and if you are sending this response, you will see this particular outcome. If you are not sending this request, you are sending request like this, you are going to get response like this. So that is again a very important part of your API development.
I am
Uh,
Ankit here.
yeah.
Hey, hi Ankit.
Can you show your Anypoint Studio once?
Yep, sure.
Here in the create one, create connector for Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
That here we'll be getting the output metadata, right? Here when we are defining the Salesforce configuration for accounts type, it will populate the output. What will be the output that we'll be getting from for this accounts, right? Accounts type. In the metadata
Yes.
section, I'm asking. Yes. So for input, how it was able to create automatically?
that
So
is that
where,
is a built-in functionality basically. Once
yeah.
the data basically once the data which will be entering to the particular connector is defined, then Anypoint Studio itself is so intelligent. It will, what it will do is it will populate the metadatas for all those connectors, what input you are getting and what output it is expecting. Basically you have configured. So
Okay.
that's something which is pre-built in, and then you need not to think of it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
input and output metadata, both it will populate on its own. We don't have to configure anything.
Yep. And
Exactly.
again, and again, this has been coded by the connector developers.
Okay.
They have told us that if you wanted to create, this is going to be your actual input, and this is going to be sorry, this is the actual, this is the expected. Okay, so these are all the fields basically which are coming from Salesforce,
Okay.
and this is going to be the sort of output. If you wanted to customize this outcome, then you can use this metadata, and then whatever the outcome you will customize over here, you can use transform message to transform and then send it to the basically API developer, sorry, the developer who is calling the API.
Okay. So for in the HTTP listener, we just defined the input metadata so that it will show bad request if we are not providing the fields.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome.
uh, Devendra has asked something. What is this optional field in request? Devendra, could you please elaborate what you want to say? What you want to ask? Amit, could you look on this? What context he's talking about? Is option.
Not getting.
Uh,
So there is another question by Kavi, who said that validating the request, we are defining the data type in RAML, right? Which is the best? So in RAML, we are defining the data type. We are also defining the request format in the RAML as well. So if you are developing the API from the RAML, okay, here we have developed the API using our Anypoint Studio, where we said that this is going to be the outcome, sorry, this is going to be the input for our request format. But if you talk about RAML, then RAML itself, we define this is going to be the outcome, right? If you are if sorry, input, if you are trying to make a request to the YAML itself, you are telling them that this should be the valid input. If you are not able to give the valid input, uh, you will get the error in the YAML itself. So YAML and Anypoint Studio are the two different things to design the API. If you have designed the API from YAML, you can import that and use that API in your Anypoint Studio, and you don't need to develop that API again. So basically, these are the two different things to develop, but in both the places, you are differently validating the input, whatever the input has been sent by the person who is calling the API. I hope that answer is clear to you. And Devender is saying that I'm not able to on mic. So Devender, we haven't made you host. So Varid, can we make Devender host and we can remove Aniket because we don't need. My old account is still working, but this was with new account. Maybe I was wrong on wrong account create path. I was getting on the
I just
account.
want to ask,
Yep.
if we are sending request to sending request to Salesforce, so all the field are mandatory or optional? How it is decided means how it is look means if
So
we
this is defined at Salesforce side.
okay.
Your Salesforce admin will tell you what sort of fields are required, what you need to send, what are all the mandatory fields they will tell you. If I show you over here in the, I'll just
In
try to,
in study it will showing while mapping.
it will not show you it is required or not.
Okay.
You have to ask the Salesforce admin to give you the list of all the required fields for that particular table that you wanted to create, and then you need to pass the value for all those. So this is like Salesforce. I'm just trying to show you for an account record. So you will be able to see that these are all the valid. So there might be some fields which are required. There might be some fields which are not. Suppose that I'm trying to create a case, and if say that new. So you will be able to see an asterisk sign next to field, which is saying that status is
Yes.
required, case origin is required, then currency is required, and there might be some fields which has been required in the backend with the help of some validations. So all those information will be sent to you by the Salesforce admin, and then only you can basically you can map all those fields with the required data.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. And anyone who is not speaking, please unmute. Yep. I think account name has to be unique and mandatory. It's not such a rule that you have to be unique, but yeah, it is always mandatory. Which is, can you please show us the query again, which is in the second flow? Basically, this is the query. Yeah, that's true. Vinay has posted that query. So, yep, I think if anyone, I believe everyone is good now, and I'll just stop sharing. And
Yes,
over
Siddhant.
to you, Varid.
Yeah, Siddhant, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
I know it's a bit late, but yeah, I think we can go ahead with the topic,
Hello everyone.
guys.
Hi. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll try to wrap it up as quickly as.
No issues. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So could you able to see my screen? Hello.
Yes, Siddhant, I'm able to see your screen and even able to hear you as well.
Yeah. So let me introduce myself. Like myself, Siddhant, and I have like 3.5 years of experience in Mulesoft. I've been working from 5 years into integration domain. Um, okay. So in this topic, we'll talk about more DevOps. So no matter which technology you are, most of the companies or projects follow DevOps to make the developers and operations people life easier. Okay. So what is DevOps? DevOps is basically the two terminologies. One is the development and operations. Earlier, what was happening is if a particular product has like 10 features, developer has to develop the entire product, which takes normally 6 months, or maybe for 1 year if everything goes fine. Um, then once development is completed, he gives that developed code to the operation or a support guy, and that support guy will do the build, test, and deploy, and then monitor the application gone to the production, and will at the end the end consumers uh, will be taking the advantage of the product. So in this, so this entire life cycle takes a minimum of like maybe 1 year or 1.5 years. Or if what happens is if the developer has downloaded some unknown jar or any other jar file from the internet, or his environmental setup is not compatible with that of operational guy, or operation guy has downloaded some other jar files which are with other version which is not compatible, then again clash happens. He will raise a bug again, submit, create a Jira task again, send it to the developer to fix it again. Okay, so there are a lot of discrepancies will happen here. If in every very good scenario everything goes fine, it might take long time, but if anything between some error happens, of any issue happens, it will take more and more time. Okay, yeah. So what happens here, the customer is not earning any money. Okay, the customer have to spend a lot of investment to the resources and time, everything, for 1.5 year, 2 years, he doesn't get money. Okay, then what happened is what we decided is, if a product has 10 features, let multiple developers parallelly do the development. If one of the feature is in UAT stage, and another feature is in QA stage, another feature is being still developed by the developer. So and so that the testing team or QA team will be testing the application continuously in both the UAT and QA, and next month, next sprint, it goes to production. So, and if it goes to production, that feature will be available to the end users, and customer would be able to make money out of it. So while the development is going on, and the process of building a complete product setup is going on, customer will be still earning money every sprint. Okay, so this method, the second option which I'm talking about, is the agile methodology, where we'd be doing a continuous development, and continuously we'll be building the developed code, deploying and testing, to testing, all that process we do, right? It happens at regular intervals. Okay, maybe what we call is a sprint plan, sprints. Okay, sprint may be 21 days. Okay, some sprints may have two or sprints per month. Okay, and these they plan with this, they do arrange all the tasks in some Kanban board or a Scrum board. So hope if you are into a project with Agile, you might be following a Scrum board, you might be having a Scrum calls, or a Kanban board you'll be having, where all the tasks have been notified over there, right? Okay, the different methods. Okay, the one of the core practices of DevOps is continuous integration and continuous like deployment. Okay, in continuous integration, what happens is, a developer will do the development, and then he will commit the code to the production, commit the code to the a repository. Okay, Eh, once he commit the code to a repository, then it will do the build, and we have it will do the test the code. Okay, so the we are going to automate this process, where once the developer will commit, push the code into a develop branch, or if he's doing any extra, adding, creating a developing extra feature, then he can create a feature branch. Okay, in that case, the once pushes the code, we it will do the build, and then it will create a package, archive jar file. Once archive jar file is created, then we can test the application, unit test, we can do that. Okay, so here we are automating this process. Okay, this process is called continuous integration. Once it is completed, then continuous delivery or deployment starts. We could say that where CI ends, there CD starts. In deployment or delivery, what happens, one uh, what to say, developer will will do a sonar cube or anything to check the quality of the code. Once, then he will deploy it. Once quality of the code is successful, or he can set a some percentage, if it is passing that one, then he can deploy the code to uh, the target environment. Okay,
Correct. Yes, through the pipeline basically.
yeah. Okay, So basically, DevOps will be an infinite process. Okay, so developers and operations team will be clubbing together, and they will be continuously doing a development, and like they will be uh, deploying the code, building, testing, and release. And if any issue comes, bug comes in the production, again they will raise a Jira task or a V1 task in a V1 version. Then again, the developer will work on the code. Again, he will do the same iteration. Again, parallelly, another application development will be going on. So everything will be an infinite loop. Infinite loop. At the end, the client can easily achieve his target and can market the product to the consumers. Okay. So what as I said, that we're gonna make everything automatically. Earlier, what was happening is, for a simple operation guy, support guy to build, test, and deploy, it was taking more than 2 hours. But now we're gonna automate all this process and make it less than 8 or 10 minutes. We can check out and build and deploy and send a notification once deployment is successful to the end users or the developers or who are in the team. Okay. Yeah. So this is the normal process for followed by most of the projects. So what we'll do is, developer will check out the code into a repository. The repository can be a GitHub, or it can be a Bitbucket or TeamViewer or SV1. There are multiple repositories are available where they store the code, and for to keep tracking of what are the changes each developer is committing into the code, all that. And if we, they want, if unknowingly you have committed some wrong code today, you want to revert it back, and you could able to revert the previous version of the code with the help of a github. And if okay, if committing a code to the repo, then other developer can pull the code and work on about that. Okay, these are some of the advantages of having a repo here. Once it is done, then Maven is the hero over here, which does all the tasks, which takes the code from the pom.xml and do the download all the dependencies and do a build. Once build is successful, then we can write maven command to uh, do a unit testing. Okay, unit testing, and generate a report out of it. Once we download a report, then we can invoke a sonar cube using a maven command itself to implement, to do a code review. Okay, so in sonar cube we can write xml, some conditions we can write to check the quality of the code. So if in configuration.xml, you can go to any xml.
Basically, the Xmap, through Xmap we can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here you can check if there are any comments are there or not, or if naming conventions, all that you can check the quality of the code. And once it is successful, then you can once you build it right, automatically a archive file will be generated. That archive file, you're gonna push it to the Nexus repository. I'm gonna show you how to set up a Nexus repo and what are the advantages over in this slide, in the further slides. Once you push it to the repo, then we're gonna deploy it to the cloud up. Once deployment is successful, we can notify the developers or the team that the deployment is successful or failed. Okay, and from beginning to the end process. Okay, and we have, and most of the projects, it's all been automated. Yeah. So what is a maven? So I told, right, everything is from the build, and we can use maven commands to do the unit testing, all that, right? It helps because of the maven commands. So maven is most of the use cases of maven is, it's mostly a project management tool, where with the help of maven we could generate a project structure. Okay, and the dependencies which you are with, instead of manually downloading your jar files from the internet, with the help of maven, uh, they have maven, which will use pom.xml to download a particular jar file from the particular repository. Okay, and it provides about the project information and dependency list. We could create a unit test reports using maven. And it's also helpful for a project while updating a central repository of jars and other dependencies. We can build also any number of projects into output types, like different like jar files or var files, without doing any groovy scripting scripting. Okay, and moreover, we can easily integrate our project with the source control systems like git or svn. Okay, so these are the life cycles of maven. Okay, first we're gonna validate. Okay, then we will do the compile. Okay, and then we will test the whatever we have build, whatever build we have done, we'll test that using munit. Then we'll convert into archive jar file, and we do integration testing again. We can verify, install, and deploy. So these are the multiple stages. Okay, so these stages are hierarchical wise. If you're gonna put a mvn install, then it will execute all the previous process, that it will validate, compile, test, package, all that it will do. If you're using a mvn test, then it will execute it from validate and compile only. Okay, so as I said, that maven is maven basically uses pom.xml, is written in pom.xml. We will see our what our mulesoft pom.xml contains basically. If you open a simple pom.xml file, okay, maven uses this pom.xml file to do all its work. Okay, so when first we'll see from 5 to 8, we have it's like a coordinates. Okay, but maven will take help of these 4 lines to identify where your project is actually. Okay, which location your project is. Okay, and it gives also basic metadata about your application, metadata information. Group id will contain your organization name. It also, it could, if you're working in a team or in a project, the project's name you could provide. Artifact id will be your application name, which version you are using. Packaging will be your application, or okay, packaging basically which kind of jar file or war file you want to use it. Okay, if I'm what happens here is, and in the repository, when you're deploying, when you're creating any dependency here, okay, the project structure, the folder structure will also be taken from this 4 parameters. The parent folder will be group id, then artifact id, then version. Okay, so you're seeing com.mycompany, right? So com will be one folder separated by the down folder will be company, then cicd demo, all that. So if you go here, go to your users, and in which account you are logging into your desktop or laptop, you can go here. There'll be m2 folder will be created. If you go to the repositories, if you see here, com is there, right? This is your artif com dot my company, com dot my company, m company, my company. So this is artifact id. Within that, you'll be having cicd demo one thing. I have to deploy it, then only it will come. So you'll have a project name, then which version snapshot you're using, then your respective dependencies will be there. This is a folder structure, it will be created when you're downloading any dependencies. Okay, then then we will have, if for example, not all the some of the projects, they follow parent pom, right? Okay, not all parent pom is helpful. For example, you're using salesforce or a jms connector, the credentials are pretty common to most of the apis, most of the application over the project. Okay, in that case, dependency is common. So in that case, instead of keeping in your application level pom.xml, you can create a separate parent pom. There you can have the all the dependencies. Okay, and you could refer that using a parent component. Here you could just see here, you can have the parent component over which artifact which same you have to give these parameters, group id, artifact id, version, all that. Okay, and if you are having a other project where you want to get the dependency from, then you can add a parent pom providing these 4 values. Okay, group id, artifact id, version, you will be getting from the that particular project's pom.xml. Okay, for example, if I have this project, I want to get the get all the whatever the dependence I'm using in this project, I want to include in another project as well. In that case, this I will, so every application will having these parameters, right? Group id, artifact id, and version number. You can copy paste, and just simply you can just put it here, and you can just copy here, here, and you could provide a parent here. So for if you are having gms dependency or a database dependency in another project, it will be applicable in this application as well. So that one also you can provide. Okay, then we are having properties. Okay, so properties are helpful if you want a particular value to be to be used in multiple places. For example, we are having a minutes, right? Okay, leave it that. So if, for example, we have a Mule Maven plugin version, okay, or if we have a okay, I'll go here. Okay, so for example, if you see here, I have dependency of minutes I have. So this version, minute version, I have, instead of hard coding here, I have kept in a property section, so that if any future, if I'm changing, if a minute version changes, I can simply make a change here instead of
Going to the
changing
dependency
in
and
multiple
changing it.
places. Sorry.
Yeah, like going to the dependency and changing it. And if a new person has that hold of the project in future and he has to change the dependency, so it will be easier for him to update it, basically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Then we have a build plugins. So what build plugins does is, when you are first time when you're deploying your project, first stage it does is build. While building, it will invoke all these plugins. Each plugin has one task assigned. Okay, so for okay, so this what this plugin will does when you're building, this plugin will clean up all your unnecessary artifacts, unnecessary files generated from your previous build. Okay, and freshly it will clean up, so that future up when you're deploying redeploying it again, it and freshly artifacts will be generated. Okay, and we can, for each plugin we can have a multiple execution steps. Uh, we can provide description as well. Okay, so plugins are mostly helpful when you're doing a build. These plugins will execute and will work on based upon their task. So here we can we are, if you want to dependencies, this is dependencies, any, if you want any dependencies, we can provide the dependencies here with group id, all that. What it does is, it takes, we have a repository. Maven has its own central repository. E- with the help of Maven, it will download these all jar files from the Maven repository. So if you go down here, we have repositories from and it is, we have provided a URL from from where it will go and call this URL from there. Since I told, right, a location of a jar file or a project can be seen using these parameters: group id, artifact id, and version. So it will act as a coordinates, and it will get that jar file and download in your local repo. Okay, that's all about uh, so if you, and these plugins will have a separate plugin repository here from where it will download all these plugins. Okay, and when you're first time building your project, first time deploying your project, what happen, it will go to all these repositories and down and get the jar files and store it in your local repo. Okay, so you simply go here, right click. This is Maven clean. So okay, I already did a previous build, so it is not downloading, because already it would be available in my local repo. So okay, so when you are first time building a project, all the it will download the dependencies from the repository, and it will store in your local repo. And next time when you're redeploying it, it will take the all the jar files or dependencies from your local repo. Okay, so that your application will be it will be faster for your application to redeploy it again. Okay, so it will be applicable for other applications also. If not only that, but if other applications also, if you want, if it is using the dependencies, it will take it from first, it look in the local repo. If in the local repo it is not available, it will go to the Maven repo and download the dependency from there. Okay, and sometimes what happens is, I told, right, Maven maintains its own repo, central repo. What if some of the jar files like Solace or Snowflake or Oracle AQ, these are the some of the projects they use, and it won't be available in these Maven repo. So in that case, we can add a custom jar file. custom dependencies. Okay, for the custom dependencies, you have to have a shared libraries. If we take a simple, is another POM XML. Okay, so here I have I want to install this Solace jar files. Okay, in that case, since it is not a Maven use dependency, it's a custom dependency. Whenever you are importing any custom dependency, that particular dependency, you have to provide here the dependency with the group ID artifact ID as well. You have to provide in the shared libraries. So you're particularly telling your Mule application thus these particular dependencies are shared to your Mule application. Okay, important. This is only for custom jar files, custom dependencies. Okay, this is all about pom.xml. So how do we okay, so how do we basic deployment, how do we deploy to the cloud hub? So using Maven also, we there are multiple ways, like you can convert it to jar file, upload it to the runtime manager, uh, or or you can from through CLI you can do that, or deploy your application to the runtime manager or CI/CD pipeline, or you can use a Maven command also to the deploy to the runtime manager. So for that you have to uh, go here, and in the plugin section you have to provide all the your cloud hub properties. Okay, these properties. So okay, this cloud hub deployment you will get it in the Mulesoft documents itself. Sure. Okay, so you could go here and check here. Okay, I'll forward the link. Time is not there. Okay, so you could provide your username, password, all these values. Make sure you have to provide object store v2. If you don't, application will fail here. So what is the problem here is that this is for only for one environment. Okay, I can give directly here, right click, show in XML, then just give cmd. So I can go and go this command, Maven command. Okay, so I can just go command. Where is my CID? Okay, I can just click here. So what it will do, we are doing a deploy, right? So if we give deploy, what it means, whatever the previous cycles are there for Maven, like clean, install, package, everything will happen, and at the end it will deploy it to the cloud hub. So how it will deploy, it will go to the it will check my pom.xml and will take these parameters, username, password, which environment I want to use, what is the application name. So application name we can give which environment, and project.artifact ID is nothing but this my application name I can give. This is another way to reuse a particular value. Okay, application dynamic, instead of hard coding your application name, you can directly give this one, so that it will take your application name. In future you are changing your application name, based upon that it will be deployed to the runtime manager with that application name. Okay, so if I go and see here, see here, if it's showing, it's checking if application has started. I'll go back here, just see, it's my application is deploying, but this is not the correct variant, because I've not mentioned, I don't know which application in a particular project. I might be having dev, QA, test, and UAT, production, non-prod, all these environments I will be having, right? So I'll be having all these. And so what we can do is, we can go and create a profile section here. If you go here, another application I have here, this. Okay, so here we can create another section called profiles. Okay, within the profile I can have multiple profile. Each profile will represent for each environment. For example, dev, I one profile, test, another profile. So like that, for each environment I can give my environment name, and same I have same I could provide here configurations with the cloud hub deployment properties, application name, all that. And I have to, in the properties, I have to provide which API, if you are using HTTP, REST API, and if you have created your published API into the API manager, then you will be getting API ID for that particular environment. We can put it here, which environment, like dev, QA, or test, and any one platform client ID, client secret ID. So this will be based upon that particular environment. So in this profile, basically, since it is for only for dev environment related properties we will have to keep here. We can keep here. So how to get the client ID and secret ID? You can go here. See, my application got deployed. Go here. Go here. So you can create an environment here, like non-prod. You can use sandbox, create. So I can create another environment here. For each environment, we'll be getting a client ID and secret ID. Okay. So these things you can copy here. Copy here. Okay. Okay. Similarly, for test environment, I have kept configurations here. Okay, all test environment related properties from API ID, all that. If you see client ID, okay. Okay, and what about the username and password? This username password we can keep in the build section itself, build plugin section, right? Those common properties which is common for all the environments, we can keep it in this section. Okay, username, password, and since port, base URI, and analytics is all are common, we can keep it here. Okay, and here we are again, we are seeing we are not hard coding any values, username or password. Okay, from where we are getting this client ID and secret ID? Okay, this we can, you can get it from the if settings.xml. Okay, so if once you install Maven in Maven in your local, you will be getting settings.xml. That one you can copy paste here, and if you open this one, okay, go here. Okay, so in this, in my settings.xml, I have created a separate profile section. Okay, where I'm giving username, password, client ID, and a secret ID for each environment. So my Mulesoft in Studio, I have my application. In that pom.xml will refer to these credentials. Okay, credentials. So why I'm giving like this? Because this is, I'm developing this one. In future, some enhancement comes, that guy will that guy will develop it, will pull the code from the repo and will do the development. In that case, again, you have to change that username, password, everything you have to change in this pom.xml. So maybe sometimes he might forget, and it may go wrong. That's why it's advisable to store your properties, if externalize these kind of property, server related info, Nexus repo, Nexus username for Jenkins, and Cloud Hub or any target environment username, passwords over this settings.xml. Okay, mostly this will be provided if you can get it from your teammate, or your client can provide the information. Okay, so how do we deploy this one? You can just right click, show in System Explorer. Again, I will go to CMD, and so here I will execute this command. Okay, give him one. What we are doing, we are asking explicitly to deploy which environment, dev environment. How will, so we have to use -p and which environment. So based upon, if then it will go to my pom.xml, we'll check in the profile section. -p means profile. Okay, and which ID it is. If ID is equal to dev is matching with this, then it will pick up properties for that profile and deploy to my environment. Okay, if we go here again, back, cancel, go here to my studio, So if we go to settings.xml, settings here, sorry, settings, go to my properties section, I could see all these properties there. Okay, why? Because using maven command, it is taking from my pom.xml and pushing all these properties there. You see my, if I go here where it is dev environment, my API ID, see my API ID is there, which environment, my client ID, secret ID, all this information it is taken from pom.xml properties. Similarly for dev also you can do that using maven. Okay, see this application is starting. Okay, but we don't want to do like this, right? So because it's not a good practice, we want to automate these things. Okay, another thing, another is, so we have downloaded some, we have previously I talked about some custom dependencies. Okay, using maven, executing this command like mvn install, you can provide this particular, using maven also you can provide, you can download a custom dependency from dependency, but this is not the right way. Okay, what if you're so to install custom dependency, you have to download that particular jar file from the internet, you have to execute these commands. Okay, defile means in your local system where this file resides, and you could provide any group id, artifact id, or it could be anything based upon your interest, but provide a valid valid naming convention, which version of jar it is. Once you execute this command, still deploying. So what it will happen, it will store this in your local repository. Okay, but if another developer comes again, he cannot have access, right? Because it's in a local system. Okay, he may download some dependency with the snowflake, other was 6 point something version, it depends, again there will be discrepancy here. That's why we are taking help of a nexus repo. Okay, so every organization maintains a global repository where they store the archive, they store all the custom dependencies, and also the archived jar files. Okay, for example, you have deployed into the dev environment. Okay, well, before deploying you will be doing a build, then you can do a test, and you can push this archive. Once you're doing a build, it will create a archived jar file, right? The jar file you can deploy, you can push it to the nexus repo. Okay, and you can deploy it to the dev environment, and when you're releasing it to the QA, instead of getting that code from the Jenkins, you can get that jar file, the deploy archive jar file from the nexus repo itself, and deploy to the QA and release it to the production. Okay, because that particular archived jar file will be the executed version, which has completed all the stages like build and test, all that. Okay, so what is archive jar file, you might have done. So when I'm running my application, every time I deploy, it does the build, right? If we go here, where it is one, so go to the target environment, my every time I deploy it, archive jar file will create this archive jar file I'm talking about. So this will contain all, it's a bundle of the dependencies. Okay, you might be asking like, when I'm deploying to the cloud hub, will it also deploy all the dependencies or not? No, because your cloud hub, your, while you're deploying your endpoint platform, won't download dependencies from the maven or anything. Okay, well, but from the, while you're doing a build using CI/CD pipeline, then it will download the dependencies using maven and create an archive jar file. This jar file will be deployed to the target environment. Okay, and this jar file will contain will have a dependencies, everything bundled into it. Okay, it's deployed. So if I see the time, it is 1:52, 1 minute back. Okay, so every time you deploy it, previous archive jar file we will delete it. It will be deleted automatically. It will happen because of Maven plugins we have kept in pom.xml, right? And it will recreate another updated jar file every time. We will see how to set up a Nexus repo. Okay. So here I'm using there are multiple the different global repositories are the different companies are there. One it's Sonatype or Nexus. JFrog is another repository, another company. Okay, so here I will be taking example of a Sonatype here. So you can create an account, username, all this you can give. Then you can go and click on Windows machine, and then your Nexus zip file will download. And then if you go here, then if you go here, sorry. Okay, then could go here. We could read the book. Sorry, I don't want it. I have already downloaded it. Okay, if you go here, installation. Okay, installation methods. Okay, since your Windows machine, right, you can execute this command. Okay, once it is downloaded, you keep it. You go to the C folder, keep it here. Okay, unzip it and key up. You will get two folders: Sonatype work and Nexus. These two folders you will get. You will unzip and copy paste here. Okay, and if you go here, and go to the bin folder. Again, I will do cmd. Sorry, I'll copy this command. I'm just executing it. Farid, let me know I'm going too fast. If I'm going too fast. Firoz, hello. Any questions? Hello. Okay, so my Nexus repo is started. I'll go back here and just see and run http colon localhost colon 8080, not 8081. Okay. Yes, my repo has started. So I have to sign in. So username, password, username, basically it will be admin, and first time you're logging in, then you'll be getting a temporary password. You can go here to the another folder will be there, right? Nexus. Here there will be another file will be there, temp.id, like that. There you will get a temporary password. Since it got deleted, I've changed my password. It would be deleting. So I'm giving my my own password. Okay, so I have successfully logged in. So if you see here, by default in a repo, oh, browse all this, by default all these repositories will be there, default repositories. If you want to create your own custom repository, go to the settings, go to the repository. You can create a repository. You can select which recipe you want. If we basically go with Maven hosted or group, if you select group, if at all or whatever all the repositories there for this recipe, if at all I have Maven release and Maven maven.com, or if these repositories are included within this Maven 2 group, then the dependencies present in that repositories will also be included in the repository which I'm gonna create it. If you don't want that option, we can go and select Maven hosted. Okay, basic I will select Maven group. Okay. There you can give a repo name CICD hyphen I think meetup. Okay. So you can select okay, if there are any dependencies in these repos, then that if dependencies in these repos, that particular dependencies will also be applied to your repo which you're gonna create. That's the advantage of having a Maven 2 if you're selecting rest of Maven 2 group. So let's select all this. Yes, and I will click create repo. Okay. I have successfully created my repo. So in this my repo will be used throughout my organization. Okay, where any developer, if they want any custom jars, being an architect or being if I am a client or any business analyst, I can I can upload the dependency in my repo. And if a particular developer is developing a Mule application in their pom.xml, they will give they give this repository URL. Unlike for Maven is there, right? Similarly, for Maven by default it comes, right? This repository and the dependencies, all that. Okay, this will be given for custom jars also. Okay, I'll show you. So I have created this repository. I want to upload dependencies. Okay, I can go here. I can upload. Okay, so as I told, if I upload in if since I'm selected Maven to group recipe, if I upload to any of the if Maven releases, if any of the dependencies to link it to that Maven to recipe, that would particular dependencies will also apply to my repo as well. So if let me select Maven 2 and browse my jar file. This jar file I have downloaded from the internet. Okay, so so this particular when I'm doing this, so whenever any application they use Snowflake dependency, they will be only using this 3.9.2 version only. Okay, Shan, you can give extension is jar file. I can give group ID as partner meetup, anything you whether maybe this should be your organization name, and it could be your uh, project name Snowflake version. Let me keep JDBC version. What is the version here? Downloads. Okay, it is 3.9.2. 9.2. Okay, so I will just upload it. I have uploaded it successfully. It says component uploaded to repository. View it now. So I see here my dependency has been uploaded to repo successfully. I can click on it. I can see all these dependencies. Okay. So again, I see I go to my partner made. This is my repo I have created. In this my repo, I have my dependency here called group ID. If I click on Snowflake 3.92, I will get my dependency snippet from here. I can just copy it here from here. So I have done a open this one. So it will take time. So I've already done it. So I will go here where it is. Okay. So I can add a dependency here. Okay. So group ID, artifact ID, Snowflake. Okay. And I will add my repository here. So this repository will the ID will be your repo ID, repository name. Repository name is CICD Patna Meetup. CD-Patna Meetup. I can give the organization name as anything like a org repo, whatever I can give. I can give my a repository URL. Okay, so the repository URL where we will get. If I go here, browse again. So this is my repository, right? I will just copy it. Yeah, directly can copy it. You can just go here and copy paste it. Layout can be different. So I have to run this again. It will take time. We don't have. Okay, back here. Okay. So if I save and run it, what will happen? Automatically dependency will be downloaded from this. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, Siddhant.
Yeah, Farid, do we have time or like it's already 2 o'clock?
Uh, how much time like require to wind it up?
No, it might take like half an hour or 1 hour, like half an hour.
More. Okay, can we continue it into the next meetup basically? If
Yeah,
you
yeah, sure.
permit.
Yeah, sure. Because I haven't built the pipeline yet.
Okay. Is it fine to all the attendees as well? We'll add this left sections over there. Okay. Yep. It's better to continue it in the next session, Siddhant.
Okay.
We are already
Okay.
late. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So do you want to close it on a particular topic, and then we can
I'll
take it up
complete this
ahead, or is it?
repository.
Okay. Okay. No issues.
So here in the repo, you have to give your this. I told so I would have mentioned how to get this repository URL. That is from go. Yeah, repository you can copy here. So I have already created one. So what is it? Mulesoft Nexus repo. Meetup. Okay, you have copied this URL, pasted here, and name given anything you can give, but a valid one. ID should be a repo name so that it could able to identify, and it will then when you are executing, when you're deploying or doing a build, it will go to this URL and check the repo name. Inside the repo, it will check for these coordinates. Okay, these are the coordinates to help find your the dependency. So okay, if I run it first time, it won't work. Why? Because you have to. So how will it know that I cannot give simply my URL, right? Because we have to give username password also. Then only it will log in, and with the help of username password, it will go to this URL website and log in and find my repository. Okay, and it is not advisable to give any credentials in your pom.xml, any username password, anything secret ID, anything. We have to externalize it, because it might be a security issue, or another developer have to change it if you're if in future if you're going out of your project, right? That won't be valid. So it's better you put in a settings.xml. In this, we will be having a server section. In this, you can provide the ID as your repo name, and credentials of your Nexus repo username and password. Maybe this, since this is a one time one time we have to set up your business analyst is organization wide. This will be common username and password. This you have to set in the settings.xml. Okay, and servers you have to set it. And if you execute it, then it will download the dependency in the local. If you go to the users, this is my .m2 folder repositories where it is. So how will I identify it? I have to see com.meetup. So what of com is another folder we have to find for meetup. And if I see snowflake, I have, and you see the version here, guess this is 1 second. Okay. And then you see the snowflake artifact ID, and then you see which version it is. There here, if you have executed it before, so you will see these all jar files. Okay. If at all I will provide these credentials, then with a different folder structure, it will be downloaded in your local repo. So next time you're any developer, if you are for another application you're using snowflake dependency, it won't call this maven nexus repo. Sorry, it won't call this repo. Why? Because it is already you have downloaded in your local repo first time. Got it right? This is how you could set up your nexus repo. And in organization you won't be having local host. They will be setting up in some AWS server or a cloud server. You'll be having a proper IP address. Okay, but the functionality how I did the setup will be exactly same. There won't be any change. So you can have multiple repos. Okay, one repo for storing the archived jar files, another repo for having all the dependencies, like that. Okay, you can do that. We can set up in your nexus repo. So this completes the demo. Okay. Okay, and so you might be asking, this is for the local purpose. Okay, but when you're using a CI/CD pipeline, it won't use settings.xml. We will be creating a global variables in the Jenkins files. Okay, Jenkins file, there we will be using username and password. So when you're doing a build, and your Maven will take from pom.xml, this username and password will be taken from Jenkins, where we will be defining their global variables. So here, localhost 8080. I'll tell how to set up in next meetup. We go to the dashboard, go to manage Jenkins, go here, manage credentials. If you see here, I have provided multiple credentials. For example, I see here endpoint username and password is there. Right? I have provided here. I have provided username, password, all this. Okay. If you want to create a credentials, you can similarly for Nexus repo, you can provide username, password, and with ID you can give. And these things I'll tell you in next session how we could create a Jenkins script. Okay, we can create like this.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
entire Jenkins
So,
script we can create and provide, and here we could provide.
Siddhant, can we take it from the Jenkins in the next session?
Yeah, sure. Okay, sorry for okay.
No issues, but yeah, actually people have to join another meetups as well. I think they have DM me, so yeah. Can you stop the sharing and
Yeah, sure.
do let me know once you are able to see my screen, guys. You are able to see it? Okay. Yeah. But just to add up on that, Siddhant, that was a very nice session, and then I think people have already enjoyed it. So it will be better. We'll continue it for the next meetup.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. So for this Patna meetup, just a quick infos and other stuffs. I'll and then I'll close the slides one, and then we'll move into the game section. So basically, you can share about our group or your experiences, the screenshots of this event on the LinkedIn or the social media platforms, and then tag us hashtag Patna Meetup Group, and tag us as well. For if you have any further questions or queries, you can reach out to us through our meetup page, meetups.mulesoft.com/patna, or you can connect with us through LinkedIn as well. Okay, you can find our infos from the Patna meetup Mulesoft page basically. So let's move into the fun session. Actually, Om is also not able to join it, and then for this time we are having a luck check kind of a thing. So basically, all the attendees' name I'll be putting out here, and we'll run the wheel. So the fortune wheel will be deciding whom will be giving those vouchers for this time. So could you please check your names out here whether it is present or not? And I think few people have already left, so I'll remove those names because I could see very less number of attendees out here. Yeah, so do check who all are present. Okay, if you are missing from this list, from this field, do let me know. Guys, do confirm if you are there. Okay, or if anyone is missing, just yeah, Pawan, I think you were there, right, Pawan? Yes, you are there. That is the only Pawan. Yeah. If anyone is missing, just drop their names over here. Yes, Praveen came is you only. I think everyone were unique, have the unique names, so I didn't had any repetitive names out here. Can we go ahead with playing this game? Everyone is okay with this? Okay. So let's spin this wheel of fortune. Fingers are crossed, right? When are you there? We could capture this, okay? Vinay, you could contact us through our page, and then we'll further proceed for the vouchers and the trainings you'll be getting. Okay. Let us do the second spin and see who is the next winner. Praveen Sundar. Praveen Sundar, you are there? Yes. Okay, and this is the final one. Dhananjay Verma. Dhananjay was there. Dhananjay isn't there, right? I think he has left. So we can remove his name, and then Dhananjay, if you're there, you can confirm. I don't see him here in the chat. So we can remove his name, and then we can play with that. I added it sometime before, but yeah. So this is Amit Kumar Singh, right? Okay. Yeah. So guys, who all were the winners? Like basically the three winners. Apart from Dhananjay was not there, so we have removed him as of now. You people can connect with us through our meetup page, and then we have some Google Form, some procedures for getting those vouchers and free trainings. So you can reach out to us, either to me, Om, or either to Suraj from our page. Okay. Is that okay, everyone? And congratulations to all of you who have won, and better luck next time for all those people who have not got it. So sure, we'll have a giveaways in the next meetup as well. And thanks everyone for participating and having that much patience to join for like some two more than 2 hours. And Siddhant, thanks for that great session. We'll hope you'll join the next meetup as well for continuing your session. Thanks, and have a great day. Guys, you all are good. If you have any questions or doubts, you can post it out there in our meetup page, and then we can take it ahead, or you can ping me over the LinkedIn, and we'll try to resolve those. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining, and have a great day.